All right, so I'm going to make this short video to give you a walkthrough for the program Alice. And the first thing that happens when you open up Alice is you'll get this window to pick either a landscape or one of like the starting environments. Go back to your projects, recent projects, or then open a file from the computer. So we're just going to start with the simplest thing. We're going to do a blank slate, and I'll just pick the grass world and open it up. So what you're going to have now is a few things that pop on the screen. The first is you have this little preview of the world that you are animating. Right now it's just a green scene, so just the grass. You have this kind of collection of things that you can drag and drop over here, and this is going to deal with objects and what they can do. And then on the right side, this is really where you're going to write your computer program. So this is where you actually perform animations. And you can see at the top there are some tabs. And we'll get into that, and you can explore it as you go. So the very first thing we might want to do, though, is this is animation software that allows you to write a computer program. So let's set up a scene. So we're going to click this button here, set up scene. And when we do that, it should pop to a big window. And now you can see that there are these kind of categories below, and you can browse by a couple different ways. So first says biped stuff, and the second says flyer classes and props. So let's go into, for instance, the biped classes. And when you do that, end up with all these 3D characters with two legs, one of them being Alice. So I'm going to drag Alice onto the world, and you can see a box pops up to kind of show me Alice's size, dimensions, orientation. So I'm just going to drop her on and just kind of hit OK through that. And there we go. I just put this object in the world. So this program, Alice, is built using the same fundamental concept that object-oriented programming languages like Java and C++ work with. And that is, there are things, in this case like Alex, that have properties. For instance, a position, her opacity, whether you can see through her or not, her size, and those objects can do things. So right now we could take Alice and I could move her around. So say I didn't want her to be at the x equals 0.47 position, maybe I could say she's at the x equals 2.0 position. When I do that, it moves her over to a different part on the world. So she has this information that she contains within her X, Y, and Z positions in the world. Now, let's just get her all nice and centered up. So I'll put her at 0, 0. And if I put her at, I'm going to change this back. If I put her at 0 for Z, watch what happens. Oh, all right, actually, that's fine. I thought she was going to sink into the world. But all good. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to say, I'm done editing the scene. Let's go and edit the code. So here's Alice in my world, and Alice can do things. So she is more complicated than just a piece of information. She's not just a number or a letter. She's an object. Objects have functions that they can do and procedures that they can do. We'll usually use the term methods. So for instance, Alice can say stuff. So let's take this piece of code that she already knows how to do. Somebody already programmed her to do it, and just drag it into this pane over here. And right now you can see it's my first method. And we'll talk about what that means in a moment. So I'm going to bring it in here, and I'm going to have a custom string of hello, I am Alice. Right. So right now, my first method, or the first thing I want this computer program to do, is have Alice say, hello, I'm Alice. Now, if I hit the run button, pops into the world, and there she is, she talked. Now, that's not too exciting, so let's close this up a little bit. Let's have Alice do a few more things real fast. So maybe what we could also do is after she says, I'm Alice, she could move. How about forward? Let's say 2 spaces. And then maybe she'll turn around. So say turn to your right and turn 1 time. All right, so now let's run the program. Hello, I'm Alice. And then she moves forward and she turns around. There's a little dance. So that is what my first method does. It says, do these things. And in fact, it says up here, do them in order. But we just wrote a computer program, or a computer method to be more precise, that has 3 lines of code that tell this object Alice to do certain things. Now, we're going to take a step back from this tab and actually go into another one. And if you read through this, it says this, which is this whole computer program, add a scene activation listener. So the scene activation listener says when I hit run, when I activate the scene, do in order my first method. So we say, oh, okay, my first method, that's the thing we were just looking at. So when I tell this program to run, it has my first method run. Now, we could also have Alice think something before she does that. So this is what Alice is thinking about before she does the first method. So now I'm kind of up a level. This first method is this set of instructions we already wrote, but the program, Alice, this big program, says when I hit run, do the things listed here. So she had that thought, then she says I'm Alice, and she goes up and does her little dance. Now the other thing that's important to know is I could take this away. So my first method, I could just drop into the garbage. And now when I run the program, it just says, this is what I'm thinking about. She doesn't talk, she doesn't move forward. But the important thing to know is that first method is still there, all the instructions we wrote. So she still knows how to do this. She just didn't, well, I wasn't told to do it. So that is a very, very, very brief introduction to this platform, Alice. Again, it allows you to do a few things. You can set up the scene by adding creatures and things to the scene. For whatever objects that are in there, including the ground and the camera, you can give them certain instructions. So for instance, after Alice thinks, I could have the camera move away from, let's see, camera move away from Alice. And we're going to say move away from Alice by 10 meters. So now when I run it, has that, and then the camera zooms out. So even the camera is an object that you can control. But you pick the things that you want to control here. You have this pane here that tells you all the things they already know how to do. And then you can make new methods, new event listeners up here. So this is kind of your working space for the program. So that should hopefully get you started, and I will check in with you again with another video.